Welcome to Essentials Explained. My name is Luke, and I spent 3 years working in management consulting, and I'm going to give you the most important things to focus on to pass a consulting case interview. Number one is being structured. This is the number one thing you are being evaluated on. Aligning in client services on an answer ahead of time will allow you to have higher levels of customer satisfaction, and your clients will typically be more bought in to the overall answer when you arrive at the end of the case. The easiest way to think about this is if you go to a restaurant and you order a pasta dish, you will likely want to receive pasta at the end of the night. Where if they brought you a cheeseburger, you would be dissatisfied because it isn't what you ordered and it isn't what you paid for. You want the item you ordered. You want the item that you have paid for. So the way you can guarantee you have good customer service and that clients are happy with the service that you provide from a consulting firm perspective is by aligning on the framework and the approach ahead of time. And so what you will do is be very structured in building a framework that says we are going to walk through this specific process to arrive at an answer. And so that when you get to the answer, the client is likely very happy because they understand the process, you've had regular check-ins on what you're going to do, and they know that your structured approach followed through in the process that you promised. They feel ownership in the process. This is something that is very important, which is getting alignment with your client or in the interview process, your interviewer, so that when you arrive at a final recommendation, it isn't just the final answer that matters. It is the approach and the method that you took. The other thing that's great is it allows you to prioritize the areas that are most important and solve this problem in an 80-20 way. Where you may expect for a profitability case, you would focus on the 20% of the business units that generate 80% of the profits. So you might focus specifically on that business area and try to improve that. And then if your hypothesis is wrong, you can move on to the other ones. But it allows you to prioritize the areas of the case and the aspects that you think will be most important in driving the result that your client is asking for. Number two is being verbal, and it is verbalizing your assumptions. This is really important in the ability to communicate your process and how you walk through setting up a framework. How do you solve the math? How do you think through a list of qualitative brainstorming points? The easiest way to actually think about this is to think about when you are driving on the highway and you use your blinker. It allows others around you to course correct you. So if you think you're in your car, your interviewer is in the lane next to you, you put on your blinker and they see they're in your blind spot, they might be able to give you a little beep and say, hey, don't merge right now. I'll speed up, I'll move back, but it allows them to push you in the right direction, right? So if you build a framework and you miss something, it allows them to say, actually, maybe think about this, or maybe you should build in this nuance that you didn't account for. The other thing blinkers do is they demonstrate to other drivers on the road that you are driving safely. And when I see someone on the road that uses a blinker, I'm much more likely to trust them as a driver than when I see someone who isn't using a blinker and driving all over the road. It's very, very difficult to trust them, and then I will be able to work effectively alongside them or drive in the lane next to them. So getting away from our metaphor of driving your car, what's really important is being verbal and communicating to everyone else, what are your assumptions? What is your framework? How are you going to execute the analysis? And then what's your final recommendation? And being really, really clear with talking through those steps will allow others around you to trust you more. They're not only going to be able to fix your errors where maybe you missed something, maybe you made a small mistake, they'll feel comfortable working next to you. On the case, it's not only one interviewer, it's also a client, the senior managing partner that is right behind you. Your ability to effectively communicate what you are trying to achieve and succinctly synthesize information and convey it to the rest of the working team or the client team is very, very important. Next one is coachability. This one's really important. How willing are you to incorporate feedback from your interviewer and build it into the case? I've seen candidates sometimes struggle with actually listening to the feedback interviewers give them and incorporating it, where if an interviewer is giving you information and trying to say, maybe look at revenue, or maybe there's actually some nuance in your market sizing that you should adjust in a certain way. Try to incorporate that because chances are they're telling you that for a reason and they want to course correct you to move in a different direction. Being coachable is super important as it is a feedback culture. So you will get a lot of feedback from your manager, from supervisors, from partners. You'll also get a lot of feedback from clients who will say, that's actually not how we would approach this analysis, or we thought about it slightly differently. And being able to incorporate that feedback into your framework and your analysis is really, really important in the interview process and in the overall job, where you'll have to be coachable and be flexible to feedback. Your ability to incorporate new information and quickly pivot to the right aspect will be very important. Intellectual curiosity, this one's huge. You really want to demonstrate that you're excited to solve these problems, that you're excited to work on case interviews. You want to dive into it. You want to size the market. You want to figure out, well, who are the competitors? What are the customer perceptions? Or how should we think about optimizing this problem? This is the best opportunity to demonstrate passion for the job. It's one thing to say it in a behavioral interview and say, I have intellectual curiosity and I love to solve problems. But it's another to demonstrate that you want to solve these problems and that it's fun working through a sophisticated business problem that probably has some real world implications, but the ability to come in and be energized and be excited will be really, really important and will give you a great chance of demonstrating that you want to work in this job and that you want to work in this industry and that you want to work for this firm in particular. Take this as an opportunity to demonstrate that you are excited about consulting and that you are excited about solving these types of problems. So last one is easy to work with. This is something that's really important as working in a team environment, and especially a fast-paced, stressful environment. You need people that are easy to work with. And what you want to demonstrate is, one, that you're friendly, that you get along with a lot of people, that you aren't high maintenance, that you're generally flexible in working style. And what's really important here is demonstrating your ability to move on from mistakes. You will probably make a mistake at some point in the case interview process. How do you respond to that? And how can you demonstrate that you are cool and collected under pressure and you can bounce back from things not being perfect? Because you'll mess something up in this job and you won't always be perfect. It is not a job where I think anyone has ever done it perfectly. It's great to be able to demonstrate that resiliency and that small hiccups won't tank your self-esteem and you will be able to continue on with the rest of the case. If you have enjoyed this content, thank you for joining us and we look forward to seeing you again at Essentials Explained.